When war crimes become negotiation points, Boris Johnson says the West has lost the plot. Ukraine is still fighting for survival, but the talk in Washington, sanctions rollbacks, security discussions, and maybe, just maybe, letting Putin keep what he's stolen. Johnson says enough. The former UK PM says no deals, no delays. He wants secondary sanctions, real pressure, a hard line. And the only leader he believes might actually do it, Donald Trump. Not to appease, but to end it, he says, on Ukraine's terms. Because if we bend here, what message does that send the next tyrant?
What I want to do is take you back to a moment, and I want to understand your reaction in real time to the now very infamous Oval Office moment between Zelensky, President Trump, J.D. Vance was there as well. When did you first see that, and what was the first word that came to your mind?
I think it was a massive cock-up. And I think that neither side really intended that meeting to go as badly as it did. And it was a great shame because the Ukrainians had moved mountains. I mean, literally, they were going to move mountains. The United States was going to have a massive minerals deal. The rare earths deal was going to be done. There was going to be a love-in signing ceremony at the White House. And I just looked, for one reason or another, everybody got on everybody else's nerves, and it was a snafu. I really don't think that either J.D. Vance or the president wanted it to go off like that, and certainly the Ukrainians didn't want it to go off like that. That doesn't mean that it can't be rescued. I think it can be rescued, and we need to make sure that happens. And things are difficult right now, but I don't see a solution for Ukraine that doesn't give the Ukrainians what they fundamentally need, and that is a security guarantee of some kind. So, we're talking now about, you'll have read it all, Erin, you'll have seen that everybody's talking about recognition of Crimea by recognition of Russian possession of Crimea by America, the Putin being allowed to keep some of his territorial gains, a lot of his territorial gains, Ukraine accepting that they won't join NATO, that kind of thing. These are very, very bitter pills to swallow for the Ukrainian people. This is an appalling reward for aggression by Vladimir Putin to say that we have to recognize his occupation of Crimea. I mean, come on, for Ukraine not even to be able to say at the end of that, after 3 years of heroic fighting, that they've got a security guarantee from NATO is terrible. But then not even to be able to say they got a security guarantee from the United States and the rest of the West, that's terrible. And, it's not clear what Ukraine is really getting out of this conversation, this negotiation at the moment. It kind of feels like all the concessions are being made to the wrong guy. All the concessions are being made to Putin. I just can't see that working. And what people continually underestimate in all this, Harry, is the fact that the Ukrainians are going to win. Nobody seems to understand this. It's their country. They're not going to let Putin get away with it. And anybody who thinks that they can just be sold down the river and will accept the mutilation of their constitution, the loss of their territory, for nothing in exchange, for no long-term Western security guarantees, no long-term prospect for Ukraine to be integrated into the West. They've got another thing coming, believe me. It's just not going to happen like that. We really need to put ourselves in those Ukrainians' shoes and stop thinking about bloody Vladimir Putin and what we need to do to appease his crazy psychology and what we need to do to give him an off-ramp. He doesn't need an off-ramp. He's in an incredibly weak position. He's losing a lot of people. His economy is going downhill. What we need to do, quite frankly, is we need to be backing Lindsey Graham, the senator, distinguished US senator, who's leading a bill in the Senate now. He got 57 signatories, so it's going to go through in the Senate, to have secondary sanctions on the Russians if they fail to accept peace, if they fail to deliver a ceasefire, secondary sanctions would be absolutely devastating, because that means you sanction everybody who's buying Russian oil. You don't just sanction the Russians, you sanction the Indians, the Europeans, everybody. And this is really painful stuff. And that would really hurt. That would hit Putin. That would make a difference. And that is frankly what the US now needs to do. But as well as that, the Europeans, my own beloved country, the UK government, the Australian government as well, need to get behind that secondary sanction package, because that's the thing that will really put the hard word on Putin. It's only when he feels that serious economic pressure, as well as the current military pressure, that he's going to change that. At the moment, he feels that with the current mood in the White House, the exasperation with Zelensky that you've seen, and you rightly began this conversation, which he feels he can just keep pushing, keep asking, and he's not going to get it. And so, the sooner there's a rebalancing, the sooner people start putting some pressure on Putin, sooner people recognize that Ukraine's long-term future is with the West, the quicker we'll get peace. We'll stop the death. My hope has always been with Trump, and maybe I've been deluding myself, but my hope has always been that he is the guy who's finally got the balls to stand up to Putin.